Hello, hello. Welcome to the Mother Days podcast. I am your host, Sarah Wright Olsen.
And I'm Teresa Palmer. How's it going, everyone?
Hi, daisies.
We have a couple of legends on today.
Yes, we do.
Your legend looms large.
We have actresses, mothers, podcasting co-hosts, sister wives, besties, Rachel Bilson and Olivia Allen, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Thank you to our sponsor, Needed, for powering this week's episode. Use code MOTHERDAYS, DAZE, for 20% off your first month with Needed's premium perinatal supplements. They are from the amazing Broad Ideas podcast. And if you guys listened to our episode, then that is where you saw all four of us fall in love.
We really did. Yeah. We still talk about that day. We were like, that was really epic. That was so fun. And there are so many things we didn't actually end up talking about on the I was like, we could have had like 3 episodes of that one because we just could not stop talking. It was really nice.
No, I think you guys, we stayed talking for like an hour after we stopped recording. Just
yes,
yeah, and then I think we started texting immediately after that.
Yeah.
And that was the juicy stuff. We were talking about the juicy stuff then, the off-air only stuff.
Yeah,
wow.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And now we're going away together, guys.
Yes.
This awesome foursome.
I know, our first trip planned.
I know. I'm so excited. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We're so excited that you guys, first of all, that you're coming. But not only are you coming, it forced you both to do something that you were, I think, wanting to do.
Yes. Night weaning. I'm night weaning.
Can you please? Let's just talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Night weaning. I usually night wean at 2. So that's my thing.
Okay.
Is I let them have it as much as they want during the day, but I really want to try and get some sleep.
Right.
So 2, they hit 2 and I start night weaning. Prairie's been the hardest for sure. I started and now I've retreated only because I actually left she just wants one particular bottle. I bought this one bottle. It was a bottle that she likes and I left it at my house and I'm staying at Sarah's. So I'm basically going to have to speed night wean as soon as I get back to my house using the one bottle that she wants because everything else she's rejecting. And she was like, I want blue bottle.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, blue bottles back at the house. And she really is so specific about it. So my night weaning's not going great. But actually, she's going to be fine. I know she's going to be fine. We're only going away for 2 nights. I'm sort of lolling on the inside about Mark's 2 nights of sleep. I'm like, there you go, sucker. Enjoy. You're going to see what it's like.
Oh my God.
But yeah, what about you, Sarah? How's it going?
It's been fine. I mean, it was a struggle the first few nights. I felt like I was like had a newborn again because every like few hours she was like crying and like she kept saying to me, it's so funny when you're night weaning a 3-year-old, it's like you're having full conversations, right? So she's like, I don't know how to go to sleep like this. You know, that's what she says to me. And I'm like, oh my God. Internally, I'm cracking up because I'm like, what? Why did I wait so long?
She was like, I need to suck on something.
Yeah. She's like, she goes, I just need something in my mouth is what she said. And I was like, oh, yes. I was like, well, you know, we're just going to have to snuggle. And so I just keep like feeding her that narrative during the day. Like, you know, when we're like upset at night, we'll just snuggle and we'll be fine. And she's like, yeah, we'll be fine. And then she's like, I don't like this plan, you know, and it's like, but it's fine. Like last night she did great. I wear the Oro ring. So I got like 9 hours and 24 minutes of sleep.
Wow. Yeah. Because she went to sleep at 8.
Yeah, I was asleep at 8. I did.
I don't know how you do that. Anyway, yeah.
Me either.
I was tired.
I know you can. Yeah, but like I find if I go to sleep when I want to, which is like by 9, because I'm so tired. Yeah. My body will wake me up at 4 a.m. Like, okay, you've got 7 hours. That's it. That's all you're getting, or whatever it is. And I can't do past that. That's like a superpower that you both have.
I wonder if it's a Libra thing.
I know. I wonder too.
Yeah.
Like, because I get really good. That's the funny thing about wearing the Oura ring, because like Eric is obsessed with it, and he's always talking about his deep sleep or his REM sleep or like whatever. And I get so much deep sleep, and he's always like, seriously, you only got 6 hours of sleep because the baby was up like most of the night, but I get like 2.5 hours of deep sleep, which means like it's like you're really solid score. Yes. But I was like, I don't know if it's a Libra or a mom thing. Like, I don't know, but I can definitely fall into the deep.
I like the competitive Oura rings.
Yeah. I know. And now I'm going to jump into the competition, and you know how competitive I get, because she's going to get me one. She's going to reach out to her friends over at Aura. Thanks, Aura.
Yeah, we want them too, Aura.
Okay, got it. Olivia and Rachel, Teresa.
Yep. Let's have an Aura off.
Let's have an Aura off. That's right.
That would be fun on our trip.
On our trip. I know. We're all going to be like 12 hours. Oh my really funny. Okay, so I want to jump in for a second and tell you guys how I first met Rachel, because I'm not sure we really talked about it on your podcast, but it's such a crazy, wild story. So do you remember you met my boyfriend, Stewie? You met him. He was like a Aussie rules footy player. Stewie Jew and we were at the Toronto Film Festival, him and I, we were obsessed with the OC. Like, that was one of our biggest shows. Like, we lived together, and that was our like show. Every single time it was on, we got the popcorn out. We made like a ritual of watching the OC. So we're at the Toronto Film Festival. I am so new to the film industry that the only famous person I've really met is like Isla Fisher from Home and Away and Bono at a party. And we're like sitting at the Toronto Film Festival, and I was like, oh my God, it's summer. It's summer. Oh my gosh, it's Rachel Bilson. And him and I both were like, holy shit, it's Rachel Bilson from the OC. And we sat next to you. I don't even remember. Do you remember? Was it a party?
I have to tell you, Teresa, because like I have zero memory, right? I remember nothing. I have the most vivid memory of this. We were at a party at a restaurant at the Toronto Film Festival. I had a movie. Sarah, this is where it gets crazy. The Last Kiss, which is where I met Eric.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And Zach Braff and I were at this party, this after party, and you and your boyfriend came up to me and you introduced yourself. And what's even weirder is you were in Toronto because you were filming Jumper.
Okay. Now this is where it gets so nuts.
Gets weirder.
I have chills.
It gets weirder, guys. It gets weirder. This is the coolest thing. So then we're on this high. We're like, we just met Rachel Bilson. This is so exciting. I love her so much. And I had been doing rehearsals for this movie, Jumper, in Toronto. So I'm in Toronto. I'm doing rehearsals on this movie, and I've talked about this experience before. This was like that experience where I had insomnia, and it just did not feel right for me to be on this film. And I was so stressed out, and there was so much anxiety, and I had a lot of experiences that like made me feel a little bit uncomfortable on that movie, right? So I was sort of at the end of my tether, and I was so stressed out, but we had gone to this beautiful party and we had this amazing time. And then I told Doug Lyman, who was the director, I was like, oh my God, guess who I met at this party? I met Rachel Bilson, who was in the OC. And now Doug Lyman directed the pilot of the OC.
So I didn't know that.
He knew you. And also, if you guys are watching on YouTube, behind me, there's a movie called American Made Up, because I'm in Sarah's house. He also directed American Made, which Sarah is in. This is so crazy.
There's way too many synchronicities.
Way too many crossovers. Anyway, so I'm like, oh my God, I just met Rachel Bilson. She's amazing. She's actually my favorite actress, and she's incredible. And I had been going, and he was like, oh my gosh, she's great. I loved her. She was so great. And I was like, I know, she's my favorite thing on the show, and she's just so vibrant, and she's just so amazing, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and I'd heard rumblings that they were going to change the characters in this movie from like freshly out of high school to sort of like mid-20s, right? So I had heard rumblings that I was going to be replaced potentially. And I was like, please, like, I really want to, because I was so stressed out and I really just wanted to go home, and I missed my life and I wasn't feeling fully comfortable. And my co-star had already been replaced like a month earlier, this beautiful actor called Tom Sturridge.
And who I wound up working with, by the way.
Who you wound up working with.
Yes.
Who we
Tom.
love.
Love. So talented.
so talented. And they had just brought in Hayden Christensen to play his role.
Who's that?
And I was, who is that guy? I don't even know. And I was like, something's up here. Something feels wrong. I really miss home and I want to go home. And I had insomnia. I was crying. And so I said to my manager, I just don't know. Like, why don't they just replace me with someone like, I don't know, like Rachel Bilson? I just met her at the Toronto Film Festival. Yes, I did. This is the part you don't know. I was like, I should be perfect for it. And she's at that age. And I just feel like I could go home and it's fine. And we can just cut our losses and I can just do the next job. Like, it's okay. Like, I just want to go home. I was missing everyone. The worst insomnia of my entire life. And I just was like, I'm done. I quit. And he was like, well, I don't really know how it works. And anyway, so I planted the seed with my manager. And then my manager was like, you know what? Doug is considering replacing you with Rachel Bilson. And I was like, oh my God. And they're like, they're going to try and make sure her dates work. Because I think you were still working on the OC at the time. I was still shooting the OC,
yeah.
You were still shooting the OC. Mm-hmm. And so I was waiting with bated breath, like, please say they're going to work. Please say they're going to work. And then I got the call like, yep, they're going to make it work with Rachel. And I was like, oh my God. It was such a celebration for me.
So crazy, but it's so weird. Like, even the fact that ever came out of your mouth, the timing, all the connections, which is so weird. And I remember Simon Kinberg, who wrote, adapted it.
Yes.
Him and Doug went and watched The Last Kiss because they were considering, and this is the story I heard after the fact.
Yes.
To see, but they went to watch the movie for Jacinda Barrett.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yes.
Get out.
They went to watch the movie for Jacinda and they came out of it and they were like, but wait, what about her? Like, and it was just this crazy, anyway, the whole thing is fucking crazy.
How crazy. And I had just said to Doug as well, like, I had just seen Rachel and she's the best ever. And like, between like me and my manager and my boyfriend and my best friend, who they had actually sent my best friend home like a few weeks early just to like have me be focused on trying to forge some chemistry with Hayden Christensen on the film. They're like, we'll just send all your people away and you'll be on your own. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, I remember being like, she would literally be perfect for this role. Like, this would be the perfect person. And then it was like the universe listened to everyone. And then
that's why you're the master manifester.
But you literally changed my life.
Here's the thing.
I was like, this is the craziest thing because that's where you met Hayden.
I know.
And he's like the baby daddy. And it's the most insane story. It's like sliding doors. Imagine if that didn't happen. I wouldn't be here.
There'd be no Briar. No, I can't.
That is so nuts.
It just shows that every single thing is happening for a reason. Yes. And it's like, it could feel like a loss. Like someone else could have taken that as a loss in your situation. But it's like, oh, this isn't personal. This baby needs to be born. There's bigger things at play here. Right?
I was able to buy my mum a house with the money. So back in the day, it's not really like this anymore. It was pay or play.
Right.
So that's where you get paid. So even if you don't do the movie, because I got replaced, me and Tom both got replaced with Rachel and Hayden, we still got paid the money. So I was still able to buy my mum a house as a surprise. I surprised her with this house and filled it, like every drawer, I filled it with things. And it was my greatest dream to buy my mum a house. And I was like, Jumper bought my mum her house and brought you Hayden, which brought you Briar.
That's
which is so
nuts.
Wild. And then in a crazy twist, I met Adam Brody.
Let's keep going.
There's more.
There's more.
There's more.
Oh my gosh. Who was your ex-boyfriend, or you were sort of in the process of breaking up, I think.
Yeah, that was towards the end of our relationship. Yes.
When you got Jumper, and then he was my next boyfriend after Stewie. and this is so wild. Like literally.
It's so crazy. I mean,
it's so crazy.
It's insane. And you know what's so funny? Because like normally when you hear about people dating your exes and you're like, I loved you so much. And when like, I came into Jumper and you wound up leaving and having met you and you were just so incredible to me. And then you wound up dating Adam. I was like, cool. Like, I felt supportive. You know what I mean? Like
I remember that.
I was not mad at it.
No, she'd always be like, yeah, but I like her. Like, she's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I can definitely, be the person be like, but no,
it was that new gal.
But it wasn't like that at all.
Like same with me when you did Jumper. I was like, I love her so much, and this is so. And then when I heard that you and Hayden got together, I was like, A, I'm not surprised. B, they're the cutest couple in all the land, and literally that makes me so happy. And then I heard and you had a baby and all these things. So I was like, all these puzzle pieces had to come into play,
right?
For like life to unfold in the way that it did, and I love it, and that's why I love the universe so much.
Oh my God, the universe. And ever since our when you were on our podcast and the manifesting, and I know we've talked about it, so many things we have manifested.
I mean,
it's crazy.
Olivia, wait, you need to tell us that story, Olivia.
Yes.
We had this, you guys have got to go back and listen to the episode. If you haven't heard it, it's this magical episode where we all come together and we're such high vibes. And we became sisters. Yeah, that was the moment of deep love. And then Olivia manifested this whole other like part of her life. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. I mean, you guys, honestly, that I call it a session because that's what it felt like with us. Mm-hmm. It did. Yeah. It felt like a healing session. There's so much that happened in there. But, the full story is since doing this podcast, there's parts of me that would kind of ache when people would talk about certain things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I shut the door on a certain part of my life for so long. And recently I started to open that door up little by little, but you guys were talking about manifesting, and Teresa, you were saying the big thing, like the thing you think is too big, like that. And then Sarah said, and when you get that feeling, when you get those gut feelings, to act on it instantly, not to wait. And so I went home and I was like reflecting, and I help people do this. Like aside from the podcast and acting and all of that, I coach people, and I'm always trying to help them manifest the biggest thing. And I'm like, what am I not facing? Like, what is it that is so big I haven't dared to let myself play with yet? And I thought about writing. I was like writing my own projects and acting, So the next morning, 6 or something in the morning, I got this gut instinct about a girl that I hadn't spoken to in 10 years, but I've seen that she's writing, directing, acting, making her own films, just killing it. And so I text her instead of waiting. Yeah. In that moment, I pulled my car over on the way to getting my kids from school. And I said, hey, this may seem weird. It's 6 a.m. And
getting your kids to school, probably.
Getting my kids to school. Yeah. I said, it may seem weird, but I'm doing this thing where I'm trusting my gut and going with my instincts right now. And you came to mind. And I would love to pick your brain on writing. And she's like, that's so insane. I've been thinking about you. What? We ended up meeting 2 days later, sat for 4 hours. We're now coaching each other. So I do life coaching and she's coaching me on writing. We're writing a script. We've got 3 other scripts we're working on. She ended up meeting Rachel. We've been pulled in as executive producers on one of her films. I ended up getting a movie.
Yeah. Wait, no, you have to tell that part too.
Yeah. And then I ended up getting a movie. I went home and did I did all the things because you guys reinvested me in possibility and hope and inspiration. I'm telling you, you guys impacted my life in a massive way.
Gosh. That makes so happy.
Goosebumps everywhere.
A movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Like a movie. Yes. So tell us.
So then, I went home and redid my I am statements and really was like, I'm going to stop pretending I don't want this thing.
Yes.
And I said yes to it. And then I got a call from a really good friend of mine that's a casting director. And, he's like, go on tape. Rachel recorded me and I ended up getting it. And it was a really good part. And I won't say the name of it, but this is more about the manifestation than it is any of that stuff.
Yes.
But I directly correlate it to our podcast that we did with you.
Oh my gosh. That is so deeply meaningful to me.
Me too.
Wow.
It's so true.
So if you listen to our show, you know that Sarah and I are baby obsessed. We keep trying to convince the old hubbaroons to have more babies with us, which hopefully they will. But I wanted to share this crazy story because, look, I've been wanting to have kids since I was a teenager, really. But when I was really seriously thinking about it, I went to my doctor. I was probably 26, 27. And he was like, okay, so how long have you been having prenatals? And I don't know if this was anyone else's experience, but I was like, wait, what? Don't you just take that when you get pregnant? And he was like, no, the recommendation is that you're supposed to take prenatal supplements 3 to 4 months before even wanting to conceive. So that really threw me for a loop. And I think, you know, there's that added pressure of just knowing that pregnancy and postpartum are some of the most nutritionally demanding times in a woman's life. And of course, we know that our baby's health now and for years to come, it's really truly influenced by our nutrient status. So then I was like, okay, where do I go? Like, what do I do?
And there's so many prenatals out there. But if you're anything like me, I get so nauseous when taking a pill. In my first couple of pregnancies, I would get so sick. And so in my last pregnancy, my friend was like, oh, I use this brand called Needed. And they have a prenatal multi. It's for before, during, and after. And it's a vanilla powder. So you can put it on your food. You can drink it. You can use it before, during, and after pregnancy. And it's all the nutrients that you need, which is just so fantastic.
And no nausea. I can tell you guys, no nausea. Yeah, it was amazing. I had it with Prairie and it was such a game changer. I remember feeling so afraid in the mornings. Like I'd eat my breakfast and I'd have this huge pill and I was like, oh, here it comes. I'm going to get sick for the next few hours.
Get stuck in my throat.
Yeah, I know.
And Needed was actually designed by women's health experts that test nutrient levels based on the latest research and in-practice insights from thousands of women. And it's the #1 nutrition brand recommended and used by more than 4,000 women health experts, midwives, doctors, functional medicine doctors, OBGYNs. When I found that out, I was completely blown away. But this is something that so many of my friends have been talking about lately.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. And we love that Needed also offers a premium supplement for every single stage of motherhood. So from egg quality support for women trying to conceive, shout out to Sarah, woo woo, to a lactation support plan for breastfeeding mums like me who hasn't stopped breastfeeding since 2014.
There's just so much on the journey to motherhood that we can't control, but nutrition is a big one that we actually can control.
Yeah, guys. And now you can join us on the Needed journey. Head over to thisisneeded.com and use code MOTHERDAYS, that's Mother Days with a Z, for 20% off your first month of Needed products. I love it so much because it also like re-inspires. I'm like, oh yeah, like we also have to listen back to that and like feel reinvigorated again in it because I lost my manifesting mojo for a couple of months.
You
it's
did.
Coming back.
Yes.
It's coming back.
I actually think, and I was writing this the other day to somebody, but I was like, it's weird. Like I felt like there was so much energy. Like I don't know how to explain it because it's not like I've ever been like trained in any of this stuff, right? But there was so much energy at the beginning of the year, like all the way up through like April, where I really felt like, okay, there was like such a connection to the other side, or like the energy was like flowing so good. And then it was weird. It was almost like it went away and I forgot it even existed. And it was like, I wasn't even thinking about it. And it was like, just bye-bye for the whole summer. And then weirdly, bye-bye. And then weirdly, like just last month, it started to feel like all of a sudden I started getting like the tingly feelings again, where it was just like, oh, weird. Like, I feel like I'm not alone here. Like, I feel like I can connect with my dad, like on the other side. Like there was just all this stuff coming. And I was like, is the veil thinning? Is it like the time of year? Is like, what is it? You know? But I do think it kind of goes hand in hand with that whole, there's times in your life when you feel like, oh, I'm really connecting and I'm manifesting and all. And then sometimes it feels like it's not there and it's not happening. You kind of feel like you're in a funk about it. And then something reopens or inspires and it's back again. So anyway, it's just like, yes, I feel it's as you're getting it back. It's like sprinkling in.
I think that's the most important part is it's ebbs and flows, right? And we're all going to have our moments where we forget. And that's why it's so important the company you keep.
Yes.
Right? Because when we forget, someone else remembers. And it's always like, we're always like, it's like hot potato. You're passing it back and forth because you can't keep that 100% of the time. Like in order to go through growth spurts, it has to get uncomfortable for a minute, right? But you need the people around you that are lifting you up and reminding you of what's possible.
Well, call it a coincidence or whatever, but I would like to say that it was the universe, but I turned to Eric one day and I was like, oh, I really feel like if I'm going to wean Winter, I need to like go away for 2 days. Like I just need to like that's what happened with Esme is that I had to go away and then it was able to like really fully happen. And then I could move on to like the next chapter with her. But like, I just feel like I need to go away. And I have been saying to Tez, like, I don't know what I want to do for my 40th. Like, it'd be fun to like, I don't know, go off on like a little adventure for a couple days, but that's never going to happen. And then like, or maybe we go to dinner with some friends or like whatever. And I couldn't decide on anything because I'm a Libra and we're always like this, you know, and I'm like, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I'm fine with whatever. And then weirdly, like 2 days later, I get a text from these guys and they're like, do you want to go? This is crazy. Do you want to go on a 2-day trip with us? And I'm like, oh, this is my trip.
Wait, what? I know. This is the trip we were talking about.
I know. I couldn't believe when you said that. You're like, I just said I needed to go away for 2 days to wean. And we're literally like, want to go away for 2 days on this adventure that's like really random but fun. But like, we're like,
we do want to. Let's make it happen.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Oh my God. And these are the sort of thing. I feel like as parents, it's so rare to show up for yourself and do something solely for yourself. It's every day. It's like meeting the needs of other people in your family, right? So this felt so like wobbly to me. I was like, oh, can I don't, that's so strange. Like it felt so foreign to say yes to something, which is like in service of self. But it's that thing where it's like, we always say it. We say it in our book. You can't pour from an empty cup. And even though Mark initially was like, whoa, what? He then was like, this is going to be really good for you. It's going to be so good for you to just be like, I don't even know what it's like to be in a bed on my own.
I was going to say.
Same.
Yeah.
I know.
What is that? What?
So weird.
What does that feel like?
I don't know. We probably won't sleep.
No, I won't sleep.
I know. Like, I'll probably be missing like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that's like they become your security blanket.
I know. They really do.
They do. But I'm the same way because I never do anything for myself ever.
Yeah.
So like even for me as well, it's like doing something like this is a big deal. And to go away for 2 nights and my daughter, she's not going to be happy. You know?
No.
And that's going to be hard for me. Even still, she's almost 9 and it's still hard, you know?
Yeah.
But it's so important. And I'm just like, you have to do this sometimes, I think.
The funny thing is too, is our friend was like, she told the girls that are organizing it, she's like, the 3 of us can be in one room. And they're like, well, there's one bed. And she's like, yeah, we can be in one room. And the girls were like, take your own rooms, guys. Like we have rooms for you.
Oh my
even
God.
then we're like,
no, but if there's a room with like, we can just do one.
Yeah. They're like, take a bed. Go ahead, have a good night's sleep. We're like,
We don't know how.
we don't know what that means.
Oh my God.
You know?
I'm so looking forward to it.
I
It's
know.
gonna be so
It's going to be so fun. I'm just so happy that you guys, especially doing what you're doing with the weaning and everything, and it doesn't come without challenges. So the fact that you said yes and are going to show up for yourselves, it's such, you know, I didn't, you know, Briar, like, I remember night weaning her. She was a little younger than when she stopped completely at 3. So it was similar, you know, and they can talk to you and they're so used to it. And they're like, what the fuck, mom?
Yeah, seriously.
You know, these little people like,
I know. They're like, why are you doing this to me?
Oh my God.
Why are you doing this to me?
Prairie gets physically abusive. Like she gets abusive. Mark always laughs about it, but she attacks Mark. She takes it out on Mark, which is so funny. She's got these really strong little heels and she kicks like, it's so insane. Boots the crap out of him. And I'm like, hee, like laughing because it is pretty funny. But she gets angry. She's very, very angry in the middle of the night. You know, when they're in that half asleep, half awake state.
Yes.
And I'm like, do I fully wake her up and get her to chill out, or do I let her sort of just get this energy out right now? Yeah, it's so wild.
I found it harder for me than my kids. And they were both 3, but I felt like it was harder for me. Like I craved it. I didn't know how people parented without it. I'm like, what do you do when they're
like, you mean stopping completely?
When I stopped breastfeeding, it was really hard. Like I still get the craving where I'm like, oh, it would be so much easier if I could just
put this boob in the
when
mouth.
they're upset.
Oh, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
On the airplane. I mean, come on.
Oh,
yeah, I know. My heart goes out to anyone who has to be like, right, I've got to make the formula bottle. I've got to get up. I'm always like, you guys are such troopers. Like that is actually amazing to go and like do that, because I feel like in some ways I had it just so easy to shove the boob in whenever they're upset.
Yes.
I've said that to my friend who just had a baby. She was like, so how often do you breastfeed? I was like, anytime they make a peep, I shove it on in. She was like, really? I'm like, yeah. It was great for your milk supply.
Yeah, they breathe and you're like, oh. And you're like,
oh,
there you go. I know. My sister-in-law, like, so I have a new niece. She's 3 months old. And you know, she's on formula in a bottle. And like, there's one side of it, it's like, oh my God, like the freedom, like she just, you know, you can like do things for yourself a lot easier, it seems.
Right.
But also I'm like, wait, but if she's fussy, you just put the boob in the mouth. So what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? I wouldn't even know.
How do you parent? That's what I'm saying. I think it was the easiest thing. I told this story, I think, on our podcast. Like there was one point where my son had stopped breastfeeding, but he was so hysterical on a plane and he hadn't breastfed in like 3 months. I stuck my boob in his mouth.
Yeah.
Even though he was done. And remember, and the milk came back in? He was 14.
Wow. That's progressive.
14.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what?
Too, yeah.
It helps.
Yeah. I could have done with that yesterday. Sarah saw my daughter Poet have the most insane tantrum over a smoothie that Sarah brought me a smoothie and I was like drinking my smoothie and she was like, I want a smoothie. And I was like, okay. And so I gave her some of my smoothie and then she claimed it was hers. So this was her smoothie. But then like Bodhi's like, well, I want some of the smoothie. And then Forrest's like, I want some. Prairie's like, movie. And I was like, oh my God, now we've got to share. All right. So now I'm going to dissect this into 4 different parts. But then Poet was not having it. She was like, my smoothie. She turned into the most insane little girl on the ground, on her back, kicking, screaming, crying. I was trying so many different tactics. If only I could have just been like, have a boob. She would have loved it, by the way. If I was like, yeah, have a boob.
Yeah.
The thought crossed my mind. It's so much easier when Prairie's in that place because I'm like, here, like just breastfeed.
Yeah. We're regulating.
Yeah. I had to negotiate. And then I finally was like, no one gets the smoothie and poured the smoothie down the drain. And then was like, all right, she just needs regulation. I'm just going to hold her close. I'm going to talk to her. But yeah, wow. I know. It's,
I mean, but you guys have so many children.
Yeah.
So many children.
You know?
And when they're together, we've been spending a lot of time together, Sarah and I, which we do in these like crazy bursts whenever I'm in town. We're like, go, let's get together. Yeah. And then all the kids just see each other every day. And they all look like they're a part of the same family, like very tanned, white blonde hair, these big eyes running around.
There's 7, right? In between
There's 7 of us with us. Well, you know, and Sarah's considering another one. So she'll be bringing lucky number 8. into the gang. So
are you pregnant? You're pregnant.
No, I'm not.
She's not yet.
You'll know at the tequila tasting. I'm not pregnant.
Not yet. But it'll be sort of bang on when we go like around that time, right? Can be the first month of trying. Let's see.
I don't know.
Although you'll be away, so that sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you're like, I know her ovulation schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Well, my period is pretty much on par with yours because Eric's like, Yeah, I think I'm a few days behind you.
Oh yeah.
Are you guys synced up too? Are you synced up? Period. Best friends.
We are.
No, we just got done.
We're not with you, but we probably will after our trip. We'll be on yours, but we're synced up
together.
Yeah.
Together.
Oh, okay. I'm just finishing mine. You finished yours.
I'm just finishing mine.
We're just finishing ours.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
You
oh my
guys.
god! We're synced up. Period, pals. I'm so excited, guys. Tomorrow's my last day. How many more days do you have?
Today's my very last.
Today's my last. I'm done.
Tomorrow's my last. I'm a day behind.
This is amazing.
This is amazing.
You guys.
This is amazing.
Period, pals.
Wait, so we're all going to be ovulating when we go away.
Yeah.
Is that
We're
right?
so
We're going to be
horny.
like really.
Bring the vibrators.
Oh my
we're gonna ride that horse. You see us all gyrating on the back of the horses.
We're like, wow, Teresa really knows how to ride a horse.
I'm like really body rolling the back of the horse. Like, wow, I love it so much. It's so fun.
I did not know what you were saying, and then it hit me, and it hit me good. How do we transition into anything serious now?
I wanted to, because I really did want to transition.
I know. Go there.
Oh my god. Okay, I have to calm down. Anyway, pivoting,
transitioning.
Transitioning. Oh god. Okay,
So
we should talk about parenting a little bit because and we have a bit, but I really want to dive in. Olivia, I have so many questions for you because you talk so beautifully about your parenting journey with your sons, and in particular, your relationship with Shepherd and all your love and all the growth and everything you've navigated with him, who, by the way, your children, can we just talk for a second? How gorgeous. Her kids
I know.
are the most
It's ridiculous.
gorgeous. You know when you're like, oh, they're cute kids, like, her kids are seriously next level. Like anyone's going to look at those kids and be like, are you shitting me? Like it's like as if AI generated like a picture of like the cutest possible kid. AI is like, here we go. This is what
Elliot,
they look like.
forget it. I mean, both of them. But Elliot's like just 8, and you look at his face. Like he had a hoodie on last weekend, and I'm just looking at his face with his eyes, and I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's cute.
Those kids, he's cute. They're the kids with the tan skin, the biggest, brightest blue eyes you've ever seen, and then brown hair. I'm like, oh, watch out. Like, watch out.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
All our little girls need to watch out.
I know.
I can't, my girls can't meet them yet. No, not allowed.
They're so sweet too.
Tell me about like your parenting journey. I want to hear it all.
Oh, boy. So as far Elliot, Elliot was that was all typical, right?
Yeah.
And then Shepherd came along and I got diagnosed with something called IUGR. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's intrauterine growth restriction, where basically we went and we got measured and they said the baby's not growing. And so they were like, we have to watch it. That was really dark. That was a very dark period. I remember Rachel coming to my house to like cook for my husband and kids. And like, I was just in bed. Like
she was like, I just want him out, like get him out safely. Take him out. Like you were traumatized.
And how far along were you?
Oh, I was
like 33 or 34 weeks.
Yeah, like 34 weeks. Yeah. And a really dear friend of mine had lost a baby full term. So I was still traumatized by that.
Yeah.
And so then when we went and got him remeasured, they're like, he's got to come out now. And so when he was born, he was 4 pounds. It wasn't that he was premature. He had stopped growing. And so, yeah, it was a journey. I mean, we did 30 days in the NICU and he was on oxygen support for 30 of those days. And
oh my God.
Every day it was like, the truth is we didn't know if he was going to live or die. And this was me for 30 days.
Yeah.
Like I just held him on my chest. Rachel came to see me. She'd bring me like food, cook. I couldn't see anyone other than, are you the only person that came?
Am I? Maybe Leah.
Like I was in trauma for a long time.
I'm sure.
And then when we were going to leave the hospital, they said, he has to be on oxygen support. So we took him home. He was on oxygen for 4 months, but when we were leaving the NICU, he failed his hearing screening. And everyone would be like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. That happens. You know, kept testing, kept failing. And so we found out he had hearing loss, and we were kind of like, what does that even mean? Hearing loss? Like, can he hear? Can he not hear? Is he deaf? Then we were thinking he was blind, remember? Because he wouldn't like engage. And we were like, what is going on? So that was probably the scariest time of my life, because we really didn't know what was going on with him. And it was kind of like my body kept telling me something was very wrong. And everyone would be like, oh, he's going to grow out of it. It's fine. And it was infuriating to me, because I knew inside that there was something that wasn't being detected. And so we got him home, 4 months on oxygen. And then through the journey, it was like, he should be talking, even though he's partially deaf. Like, he should be talking. He's not. He should be this, he should be that, all of those things. And then we went and got genetic testing done. And it turns out he has something called a chromosomal deletion syndrome, where a chunk of his chromosome is just missing. And so it's related to lung disease, pulmonary hypertension, hearing loss, global and developmental delay, learning disabilities, all the things that
earth-shattering news.
It was.
I remember you calling us, our other best friend, Leah, we were in the car together. You called us and we all were just crying. Like, you were a wreck. We were a wreck. It was just
devastating.
Yeah. Like, I want to cry right now thinking about it. Just that moment of like really taking in, because this was just last year.
Yeah, we just got that diagnosis last year. So
yeah, so 3 years. 3 years of like, what, he has hearing aids. Like, what is it? They're using sign language, and that was going well, but like not really knowing what it was.
Yeah. And really that was the hardest part, was the not knowing and feeling like my whole life was in specialists. Like, we were at lung disease can he see? Can he hear? Can he, all of these things. And the not knowing was really devastating to me in a way where I will say Shepherd is my biggest spiritual teacher to date, because he taught me surrender. He taught me how to live one day at a time and not go further, because if I were to go further, I'd go into panic attacks,
Yes.
And so it was like, is it manageable today? Like, he is here today. Is he expressing love 100%? Like, he's just such a little lover boy and all of these things. But then once we got that diagnosis, the hardest part with that was I got connected with a few other families across the world, because it's so rare.
Yeah.
And when we did the research, remember, that was the hardest part, is when we did the research, we saw a lot of these kids with this have died. And so all the trauma came back up. And then finally I got connected with a few parents, and I asked them questions. Like, they have older kids. Like, are your kids functioning? Like, I didn't even know what kind of questions to ask.
Right,
like,
of
do
course.
they work? Are they independent? And they were like, no, sweetie. And so then it was like, whoa, like the thoughts going through your head when your kid has any difference.
Right.
You're just like, oh, like, okay, this is something different. Like, how do we adjust to what is? And it's a day-to-day process, because some days I'm great with it. And then some days, like just the other day, I had a really hard day, because I was looking at him and I was like, he may or may not get some of the things we get, in life. And I'm going to get emotional. He's so cute.
I'm crying now.
He's so cute.
He's so fucking cute.
He's my little godson.
Yeah.
Oh, he's your godson?
Yeah.
Oh my God. He's
everybody's favorite thing on the planet. And, you know, sometimes it's hard, like Elliot, you know, because Shepherd definitely gets a lot of the attention. We obviously make huge efforts to make sure Elliot's getting it too, but it's just Shepherd, who he is. He's so dynamic and like, he commands the room, you know?
Yeah.
He commands any space he goes into. Like even a school full of like 500 kids, like everyone will be like,
who's that? Oh my
He is that
gosh.
kid.
Oh my
He's
God.
living such a joy-filled life.
He's got
amazing.
swag.
He does.
I'm telling you, he walks in, he's just like,
He is so
he's
swaggy.
so
Here I am.
swaggy.
So swaggy.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. What a dude. And how does your older son, how does Elliot navigate it? What have those conversations been like with him? Does he fully grasp what's going on?
He does. I mean, I wouldn't say fully because I don't think he knows
What some of it means.
what some of it means, but he deals with it absolutely beautiful. Like he's the best big brother I've ever seen. He is die hard for Shepherd.
Shepherd beats the shit out of Elliot.
Daily.
Beats the shit. He kicked his tooth out once.
He did. He
Oh
kicked
my
his
God.
Oh my God. It's amazing.
That is
How
so
funny.
major. Wow.
But Elliot will do things, and this is what like I'll get a little bit like stressed about is like we'll be going to sleep and Elliot will be like, okay, so when I'm older, I'm going to need to get an apartment and then I'm going to need to hire a babysitter because obviously I'm going to have to take care of Shepherd. And like,
Oh my God.
what if I want to leave the house? Like, I don't want to leave him. And like, we're just like, Elliot, first of all, Shepherd is not your responsibility.
Aw.
We are doing everything we can to make sure Shepherd lives to his full potential. And right now, let's be real. If Shepherd's hungry, he will go get a bowl and go bring me the cereal. And Elliot sits on the couch and says he's hungry. I'm like, so let's see who's taking care of who.
Right. That's so true.
Oh my gosh. That makes me like that love of a sibling just makes me cry so much because like it kills me. I don't know what it is, but I look at my kids and like I love my brother so much. I'm going to cry through this whole conversation.
Oh my gosh.
I love my brother so much. He's so special. But like I do think about the biggest challenges that I've gone through in my life and our family, especially with like losing my father and like whatever it is. It's like, you know, my brother, he's like my guy. He's the person I call. And like, you think about the siblings that like the gift of having a sibling for Elliot, like, you know, he's understanding love in such a different capacity, like the way that he's learning to caretake and love and be there and the, you know, navigating and negotiating like everything that must go on in your family with them. Like what a beautiful gift for him for his life and the soul that he is, that he's like the brother to Shepherd. Like
I know.
that is amazing.
They were meant to have each other.
Yeah, it's something for me because I just have Briar, and that's been a big thing because I'm so close to my brother too.
Yes.
And, you know, and I can't imagine growing up without a sibling. And so I struggle with that sometimes because Briar doesn't have one, and she does, you know, like someone to go through things with, or like when your parents aren't here anymore, or any of that. And it's really hard. And of course, there's some positives that I think about, you know, because it's her and I, like we have such a strong relationship, but
that's amazing. I'm an only child, but that I was going to offer up that is the most amazing part, is that relationship to mother. Like when it's just the two of you.
Yeah.
Like my mum's here. My mum's with me all the time.
Yeah.
And like she travels with me everywhere, and it's like her and I. And
I love hearing this.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, and I did, like I was a lonely child. Like I was. It's not always the way for all only children, but I think I ended up having a bunch of children because my experience was like, I really want to have a sibling. And there are moments where I'm like, oh, no one will love my mum the way I love my mum. And no one will care about her in her like aging process. And as she's like moving towards the end of her life the way I am going to, even though my husband is so supportive and my kids love her so much, like it's on my shoulders.
Right.
And that sometimes is like a big sort of download to process, but also like the gift I do not know anyone as close to their parent as I am. Like the amount, even just the physical time that I spent with my mum. My mum is with us all the time, and it's because we always had each other. And I bet you when Briar grows up, it's going to be you and her, and you're going to be grandma with all those little grandkids, and you're going to be traveling around with her, and you're going to have that like amazing life with her, which is so beautiful.
I think that two things. One, Briar's like, you're not allowed to have another baby. Like, she's just like, there's no version of me having a sibling. Like, it's just me. But the other side, like, I remember her being so little and us laying in bed together and her putting her hand like on my face and like holding my face and looking at me. And I was like, oh, you're going to take care of me. Yeah. Like, it was a moment where it just like flashed forward and I was like, oh, you're going to take care of me, you know, like it's you and me, you know?
Yeah.
And that was just such a trip. And to think like, that is what happens, you know, what you're saying, Teresa, like
and you become a team, like you've been a team forever, right? Like, and I'm still in a team with my mum. Like it's me and my mum and the kids. And yes, it's Mark too, but it's like, I actually couldn't do that. Like I could not do this without my mum. And we're in this life together and we're having, and sometimes like I found this journal the other day. It was when I was doing jumper. Oh my God, this is so crazy. It was when I was doing jumper and I was really stressed and I was moving through a lot of big feelings. And my mum had taken my journal. My mum was there with me, taken my journal and had flipped like 50 pages forward to like a blank page and had written in there. And I had never read it before. And because I found it, I was just flicking through and I saw this. I was like, oh, what is this? And it was a note from my mom. And it was like, one day you'll find this. I want to say like, I'm so proud of you and I love you. And I just can't believe that we're here and we're doing these things that we're doing together. And, you know, I love you so much and all these things. And I read it to her and I was like, Mum, you wrote this to me. This was like 17 years ago.
Wow.
Like, and we're still doing these things together and we're still having this life. And this is incredible. So anyway, the flip side to being an only child is that like, beautiful.
I love hearing that and both sides of it, you know, and I have a question for you because as you were talking, you know, Mark's aware, like your mom's in it with you. How does he deal with your mom being such a crucial part of like the whole family dynamic?
He deals with it really well. I have definitely had other partners in the past, who've been like, whoa, your mom's around a lot. Who just didn't fully understand. But Mark is so patient with her and so beautiful with her. And I think he really recognizes the immense value my mum brings to the kids' lives. She's just pure love, pure gentleness.
She's so gentle.
She's so gentle. She's so sweet. She's just like a safe place for them to land. And he knows that we couldn't do it without my mum. We just couldn't. Like it affords him the freedom to be able to come and go, to be able to go to different countries when I'm filming and I'm stuck in one place. He can go and visit Isaac overseas and he can, because I have my mum holding down the fort with me. Again, like mum and I are in that team.
Yeah.
So we like, even just with domestic duties and all the things.
Yeah, of course.
So he has been wonderful about it. There are definitely times when he's like, oh my God, I just want my own space. And sometimes we'll take it because also I try and send my mum like home to go and have time to herself where she doesn't have a grandchild jumping on her or asking for a snack or whatever. Because I think it's good for her to have her own time too. But she very quickly gets lonely. So, but he's been really beautiful about it, I have to say.
Yeah, I know. You know, I have the same setup with my mom. She's helped me the whole time Briar's, you know, been around and she comes with me when I work and all of that. And it's such a blessing that I can do that and I have that. But I would imagine some partners, like it really is telling like how they handle that dynamic, I think.
Yeah,
it's a big thing for sure.
He's been the only one of like my long-term partners that I've had who's just been like, yes, and that's why he's my husband.
But it helps with everything. Like it's invaluable. Even just when my mom's at my house, it's like What are we making for dinner? What, just even having someone to say those things out loud to makes life easier. Like, what are we going to do for breakfast today? It's just like that camaraderie and that partnership that, I don't know.
I can also be kind of an asshole to my mom.
Me too.
So
I have
flip side.
I feel like we slip into those dynamics.
We do. It's hard.
We definitely slip into those dynamics. I catch myself. I can be I used to be like a fucking dick. Like I used to be like condescending or snappy or whatever. Yeah. But I'll catch myself now because I always, through Sarah, I think I actually like remind myself of the things that Sarah says when she reflects about losing her dad. And I remind the kids too, like my mum is such a pushover. Like the kids can do and say, like they could get iPad all day long if they wanted from my mum, or they could get whatever amount of sugar they want from my mum. And I'm like, guys, I want to remind you, like Nana, we don't have Nana forever. We don't have them forever. And I just know that if I haven't like shifted my dynamic with my mum and the way that I communicate with her, I know that one day when she's not here, I'm going to look back and be like sitting in a place of like deep regret that I didn't make those fundamental changes in our dynamic. But it still will come up. It's like a default thing. It's like a default back to the teenager.
I was going to say it must be a default to like being 13, 14, 15 years old, because that was like such a, you know, I don't know, pivotal moment in your life or whatever. But I did the same thing where like that things would drive me nuts and I would just like snap back at my mom. And now as an adult, like I've found myself going back to that place. And I remember before my dad died, my dad said to me, like, you know, one thing that I really want you to think about is, you know, your relationship with your mom. Like she really needs you. And I just want you to like, just go easy on her, be gentle with her. And I was like, what? Okay. And I remember like thinking that I had been working on that for so long. If not that I was ever like horrible to her or anything, but you're a teenager, you think you know everything, and like, you know, and then as you grow and evolve and whatever, you've definitely take on stuff in your life where you're like, why does my mom not know that? And why doesn't she do this? Or like, you know, whatever. And I think that there's like expectations that we have for people in our lives. And so we're like putting all these big expectations on someone, and that's not fair. They're like really unfair expectations, because if we've done all this growth and then you go back to somebody and you're like expecting them to understand and be at that same place, right? It's just like that's not okay. And so anyway, that's the thing that I always go back to in my head, is like thinking about what my dad said and going like, what do I want out of this? Like the same thing, the same end is going to happen, like the same end goal in this conversation. Can I go easy with her and like be gentle and not let emotion rise and not revert back to that 13-year-old girl that was like, oh, whatever, I know everything. Right. And can I instead like have this conversation and get to the end of it and not let all of that build inside of me? So anyway, it's been it's hard. Been a journey. It's hard. Those relationships are tough.
So hard. What I remind myself of, and I did it the other day because I almost snapped at my mom. I might have a little bit, like a teeny bit. And then I reversed it and was like, hey, sorry, this is where this was coming from. But what I have to remind myself is it's not my job to teach her. Yeah. She's 80 years old. She is who she is. And like love and tolerance and life on life's terms and lowering the expectations and seeing what the intention behind her is, because she'll jump straight to fear and I'll react and be like, why do you have to go to the fear? We're thinking optimistic. And, you know, and it's like, I can do that for myself. I don't need to push it upon other people. Right. If she wants to be in fear and that's where she's comfortable, who am I to say how she should be? And that's the hardest part, because I want to tell her and teach her.
I think you can do it in a way that if her fear is triggering to you, you could put up a loving boundary. Like it's okay for you to have those feelings, like whatever it is. But because of the way it has an impact on me, I ask that you just take that to another friend or you take that to someone else because I'm in this protective space.
That's
so
right.
you can allow them to be their self. But if you need to put boundaries in place, that's also okay, which I have had to do with my mum. We actually have quite a significant boundary, which is with religion. So we don't, that's her sacred thing. And she believes the things that she believes. And I have tried changing her in the past. And it got to a point where I was like, that serves her. And that is like the fabric of who she is. And I'm going to totally respect her headspace. I'm going to make sure she gets to church every Sunday because that is so important to her. And we just have the boundary that she's not going to try and instill in us like her beliefs, and we're not going to do the same thing with her. It's just, there's just mutual respect. You be your way, we be ours, and we're not going to bring it up with each other because that's when people get triggered. I'll get triggered from my Catholic upbringing and how it's manifested itself in my life. And she'll get triggered because of like her deep sadness that I'm no longer, you know, a woman of faith, of that particular faith. Yeah.
I think that there, you know, it just brings up boundaries. And I think even in relationships or whatever, if there's different political views, like all of those things, it's like, well, if you have the agreement or the boundary, like you believe what you believe, I believe what I believe. I mean, I think certain things are non-negotiables probably, but I think that's really smart to have come to that place, though. It's all about accepting because it's hard to accept, especially people that close to you, like your mom. You're like, no, you're just wrong. Like, right.
No. Like, but what about being indoctrinated? And then she's just like, no. I'm like, okay, we're not going there. We're not even going to go there. I'm going to stop myself. But it's hard when the kids come home and they're like, well, when we go to heaven, Jesus will be here and I'll have to repent for my sins. And I'm like,
it's hard, right? It is. So but it's like going to come at them no matter what in life, like who they hear it from or whatever. So it's just
that's right.
Yeah.
I was like, just believe what you want to believe. Everyone believes something and you get to choose what you believe. All right, so I love meeting other blended families because obviously we're in a world where not everyone stays together, and oftentimes there are kids involved, and then you have a child that's moving from one family to the other. And in our situation, that's my stepson, Isaac. He is with us when we're in LA. And then when we're overseas, we obviously have a really strong relationship with his parents, and we're all on text thread and we keep up with what he's doing. But in the early years, it was pretty hard for him going from family to family. There was like such an adjustment period. Every time he came to our house, he was adjusting, and he'd have to like FaceTime his mum a lot to check in and just to feel settled. And then vice versa, he'd go to his mum's and then he'd be really missing us, and he'd want to just be in contact a lot those first few days. And it was just sort of this dance that we did for a long time. And now that he's 15, it feels pretty seamless. And I know you're obviously not there yet, Briar's not yet 9. How has your experience been with having a blended family, and what is it like to like not, when she's not with you, like what does that look like?
Well, I mean, it's so hard to be away from your child, right? And in my situation, I'm with her most of the time, even if she sees her dad a lot, but we're so connected that she doesn't love to sleep without me. And we're working on it because she does need to have that time with her dad as well. And she does. It just leans more my way. Yeah. I was like that. You were like that too? Yeah. Well, I grew up, my parents divorced when I was 9, and I would have to go back and forth, but it was the same thing. I wanted to be at my mom's and with my mom.
Your mom.
And I was with my dad probably on the weekend sometime. I can't remember now, but I definitely was a little bit. But I haven't had to do the blended family thing yet because I'm, that hasn't happened. But as far as being a family that's not together, I think Briar was so young. So her friends, I've heard her have conversations with her friends.
Oh, this is the best. That's the tea.
Yeah,
That's the tea.
And they just like talk about it, you know, and I hear Briar say, well, I don't even remember what it was like with my parents living in the same house. Like she doesn't even.
She can't even.
She wasn't even
she doesn't
3.
have context.
She was 2, almost 3, but she was 2, you know?
Wow.
So for her, she doesn't really know any different, which I think is a blessing in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
I think that adjustment, that transition, I think that is hard. And I think she has a hard time with it even now, you know, going to like her dad got a new house. So she's had a hard time transitioning with that. Like she would sleep at his house a lot easier when it was the house she knew for so long.
Yes.
But now with the new house, like we've run into that. So with kids, there's so many transitions and like how they're dealing with it. And her dad and I are both so supportive of her and her feelings. And I think that's why her dad, you know, is like, of course, if she wants to be with you and she's feeling, you know, like she needs that right now, he supports it fully, even though he sees her a lot. It's just the sleeping thing I'm talking about. But like, you know, so we deal with that. But, you know, she has to we're working on it. And it's just nice that both of us are so supportive of what she's feeling.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. I think if you can keep the child at the center and just like make sure that they're feeling regulated and that you're listening to their needs. Like we would have some nights where Mark would be more like, no, he's got to stay here. He's meant to be with us. And I was like, I really think we should drive him back to Frankie's. Like he's so sad. And I just think it's okay for him not to be here tonight because he's meant to be here tonight. Like it's actually okay for him to go back to his mum's house. Yeah. And I distinctly, like I remember when Bodhi was a baby, I remember driving Isaac back at like 8:30 p.m. and his bedtime was like 7:30, like to his mum's because he had been crying and he missed her. And I just remember
that feeling.
I know the feeling too. Like, and it always happens at nighttime. You know, that vulnerability. I remember lying in bed.
I would never sleep out at friends' houses. Yes, so scary. I would never sleep out. And that's why Briar is not sleeping at friends' houses either. It's like the same thing. I was the same way. It's like, I want to be home. Yeah. I want to be in my bed. I want to be with my mom.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know? It's so okay.
It's a healthy attachment. It's your mom.
Yeah.
And no shade to men whatsoever, but I do think the kids at that young age, it's like there's something that a mom offers that, you know, if they're lucky enough to have a mom, they really want that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I grew up with divorced parents too. So it's like, wasn't even a question. Like I wanted to be with my mom.
Yeah. I remember the fear. I'd have such a great day at my dad's house. We'd have so much fun doing things together. And then it would like, the sun would start setting. And I remember the feeling where I was like, oh God, I have to like lie in this little bed in this big house. My dad had a really big house and my mum had a really small house. And I remember being like, oh my God, this big house, which is so funny because I've bought that big house now off my dad.
Right.
And there's a reason my kids all like, they all sleep together in the one bed at this house. But like, I'm like,
wait, is that the haunted house?
Yes.
It's
a haunted house.
Yeah.
And I would hear the koalas at nighttime being like, ooh, ooh, ooh. They make the weirdest noise, by the way. And I thought it was a boogeyman and I'd be so terrified. But because I had a stepmom, I couldn't like run into like their bed and snuggle in with them. Like that would just not be okay. So I was just
old were you?
I'm remembering this at like 8 years old. Like in my head, I'm 8 lying in the bed being like, I just want to go back to my mom's house. And when I got my car, when I was 16, even though I could drive around and do whatever I wanted, I did just end up staying at my mom's. I chose to just stay with my mom. And what I did instead was I would have a weekly dinner with my dad where like we'd have a 2-hour dinner together and we'd like download everything and I'd like drive to dinner and see him. But that pull was still towards my mother. Yeah. Like it was still there. And maybe it's that only child thing, but yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Rachel, you said you have a brother, right?
Yes. I have an older brother and then I have 2 much younger half sisters.
Oh, really?
That are 21 and 16. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Much younger.
16?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. So growing up, it was my brother and I.
Yes.
Yeah. Hardcore torture. I swear to God, what I survived.
He was older than you?
Yes. Yeah. He's 4 years older.
Okay. Oh, 4. Okay. My brother and I are 4 years apart too.
Oh, really? Are you older or younger?
I'm the oldest. I actually had a brother who was born before me who passed away. He was 3 years old. And then I was born like the next, I was the pregnancy like a month later after the baby, you know, my mom lost the baby.
We told like a
3
crazy
years old?
story. Yeah, he had cancer.
Yeah, he had cancer.
No.
Yes.
No.
So I was born after. So I have definitely all the oldest sibling tendencies, but I think my like thing of wanting to have a big family was because I always longed for the person that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
And-
you're making me cry.
I know.
Which is why I think your sibling thing, like when you talk about siblings, it's like it hits me so hard just because like there was, I think, because we had such a major loss in our family that my brother and I, even though we didn't know him, like we always felt it. It was always there.
Of course.
And so for us, it was just like it was a heaviness. Like every year I wanted to hear about it. And my mom like had to tell the stories and like, you know.
She told the story in the podcast.
I cannot.
My mom
did?
yes. She actually told the story on the podcast right when we first started. So if you guys didn't hear it, you should go back and listen to this episode.
I'm going back and listening.
But she told it because she had like a really crazy encounter with a person, this woman who was like a candy striper who came in and like gave them this gift of like a poem. And the poem was about like letting go. When my brother was like sick, he'd had like 30 surgeries and he'd been in the hospital for like a year. And it was like his 3rd year of life. And so it was like this poem that was basically like, you need to like, you know, let go. And they read it and they went out to thank her. And then they were right across from the nurse's station. And the nurse was like, there was no candy striper. There was no like volunteer here today. They're like, they don't work on, you know, Wednesdays or whatever it was. And my mom was like, no, she was just here. She just gave us this poem. And she was like, I've been sitting right here across from your room. No one's walked in and out of your room this whole time.
I can't. All over.
Yes.
I can't.
So like the story is crazy. So my mom tells the story because
listen to it.
Yeah, because the story is just like, it's wild. And she it was like the moment when she could finally let go and say goodbye to him, and he died the next day. So
oh my God.
it was really powerful and, you know, sad. But anyway, that's the reason, like, I think that's the reason I was talking about that, Olivia, with your beautiful story, is just because, like, you know, with tragedies and family or like whatever, it's like sometimes, you know, you have this beautiful relationship with Briar, and Teresa, you had this amazing relationship with your mother. And like in our family, like we had my parents and each other, but like we needed a lot because of what had, you know, transpired before we were even earthside. It's just crazy.
Right.
Wow.
And I do feel like we get what we need.
I agree.
Right?
Yes.
It shows up different on everyone, but I feel like we do get what we need in some way.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I want to say, you guys, this has been like, what a journey this podcast episode has been. Oh my gosh. Like I haven't laughed that hard in so long. And then I went from that immedially pivoting into so
I
deeply
was thinking
moved.
like, we just talked about riding a horse.
This is just how we roll. The four of us.
This is how we, like, it is so true. But Olivia, you're unbelievable. Like, I'm so moved by you.
You haven't even tapped into like everything that we'll have to go there.
I know.
Like, it's insane.
I'm dying to.
Yeah.
I want to hear all the things and just, like unpack everything with you guys all the time. This is why I'm so excited about
we're going to have to recap after our trip. Yeah. You're going to come back on ours. We're going to have another session.
We're going to go on your podcast. And we'll have a recap.
We will.
You're both such brilliant women and such dear friends of ours. And I was saying to Sarah, it's so special to meet such aligned people later on in life. I find that they're the most exciting friendships because you're so much more dropped into who you are the older you are. And to meet you guys at this age, I'm like, oh, this is exciting. This is so fun. And we are so grateful that you came on the show today and shared all the things that you did. And we can't wait to have this party with you really soon.
We're so excited.
I know.
They knew it. The minute when you guys came and sat down, we're like, oh, those are our people. It just felt like that kindred, kindred souls. And it's just the beginning. And we have like
so much more to do.
More hours of podcasting.
We do. So much more. We really do. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. Love you.
We love you.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah. And then to all of our amazing daisies, go listen to Broad Ideas podcast with Rachel and Olivia. It is so awesome. We love it. We've been on it and we're going to be on it again.
That's right.
But daisies, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Bye, guys.
Bye.